Let's go. We are live. Welcome everybody. I know this is a very important topic, and a lot of you, including my students, asking this question about the new FMCSA regulation, right, or the new guidelines that are out there. A lot of people get confused about this. Obviously, it's kind of scary. For those of you who don't know, what they're doing on the market. Obviously, you're reading it. Not many words we understand. There are some terms maybe confusing. A couple of my students emailed me saying, like, Kamal, I did a lot of, I watched a lot of videos. I read articles about the bona fide agent. I still don't get it, what it is. Well, it can be, confusing. Obviously, I do have good news for those people that if you know what you're doing, and obviously for students, relax, everything is good as long as like you do what I teach, you guys are fine. But then obviously it's just basically this is like it's like an audit. Let's audit your business and see if you're doing it correctly, right? And including myself too. So Camille, hello. So we are here, and guys, you know the drilling. At the end, we'll be doing um, the Q&A, and I'll be going over the guidelines, and I will just basically share what I think. And then this is obviously my personal opinion. When this guidelines was posted yesterday, I read it a couple of times, and I started calling people and obviously getting clear on this. And since this morning I did a lot of research, and please do your own research as well. I talked to a couple of the people that they've been in business for more than 20 years or something like that. So these are the guys that they know ins and outs of the transportation industry. So I did talk to a couple of my friends. They're lawyers, and then they specialize in the contract. So I asked a couple of terms to identify, and at the end, obviously, I will give you the answer. Is dispatching illegal or legal? So we'll talk about this, but without further ado, let's talk about the root cause, where it all began, right? So it started somewhere, and something caused this, and why now freight dispatching services suffer from this. And by the way, if you are doing the right way, the dispatching, and then again, we'll be talking about what's the right way, what's the wrong way. We'll be talking about this, and let's talk about the root cause. And before I begin, guys, let's be this. Let me see. Tamim says, "Can you send me the FMCSA guidelines, please?" Yes, I'll do that. I'll include, under this video once it's posted. The link will be there. Go ahead and read. I think this live training will be, and I don't know how long it's going to take, because we will take the at the end, the Q&A. You'll be asking questions. There are a lot of people obviously confused, and what I want from this is, let's get engaged. Ask me questions, and then I will just pull your questions on screen. Whatever you have, ask me any questions. Maybe confused about something. Just let's clarify, guys. This is very, very important, and we must take it seriously. I did a video after all the research, obviously, and I did a video on TikTok. I talked about, I don't know, about 40 minutes, and did a lot of people obviously asking questions. And I did a video, live training on Instagram before doing the live on YouTube, like in a single day, 3 different channels, 3 different live. And then I talk to people, and I ask their opinion as well. So let's see. So let me Sahib, if you are a really smart guy, just be patient, buddy. So I'm not wasting time. Some people out there, they need more of a clarification, because there are a lot of people get confused. So so if you have your opinion, please share. If you don't, please just watch. And then if you have specific questions, please ask, and I'll do my best to serve you. Now, the live that I did, one of the, I'm not going to mention the name, obviously, one of the viewers, I would say maybe the follower, asked this question, said, "I do this. Is it illegal?" I read the FMCSA guideline, and I was talking to shippers, and then attracting carriers. And I said that's illegal. And then one of my students emailed me saying, "Hey, listen, you did a video on YouTube and it says, you know, stop working with, brokers and work directly with shippers." In that specific video, and by the way, that video is still published. It's there for everybody to view. Just go, you can watch after this video. Video is there. The live training I posted, I never, took it down because that video is specifically for carriers. Carriers, they can work directly with shippers if they wanted to, right? So some people get confused about like, hey, that video basically it's what you're teaching is illegal because independent freight dispatchers can't go and talk to shippers. Like exactly that's what I said in that video. If you can go rewatch and pay attention, I know it's long, but then important things take some time, right? So then obviously it's for carriers, and if you are representing the carrier, you basically becoming the carrier. It's part of the carrier. You're supporting the carrier, right? So without further ado, the root cause. And by the way, there are a lot of comments when you go to FMCSA guidelines, and then you can see that there are a lot of comments made by the industry leaders. A lot of associations and DAT also posted their comments, and their truck stop posted, trucking association, independent trucking association, everybody posted is there. Like dispatching services people also posted, brokers, everybody is there. So we have about almost 90 comments, and I read about 50 of those. It was crazy. I was reading it. Some people say this, some people say that, but this is basically my own opinion. You have your own opinion, and guys, do your own research. It's available to everybody, but my job here is, since I teach this, since you know I'm doing the exactly same thing. So it's not only affects dispatchers or the freight dispatching services. I think brokers out there and can get benefit out of this. The carriers out there, maybe willingly or unwillingly, working with the dispatching services, they, I don't know, maybe they're doing something wrong. So we need to clarify this. So all it begins, and I really wanted to read this, and I'll be reading the FMCSA guideline, not everything, but then there's important points, and we'll talk about when you're doing a dispatch, when you're offering your dispatching services. There are 9 things that if you're doing that correctly, you don't need a broker license. Okay, so then there are 6 things. If you are doing that, then obviously you need a broker license. So I'll go over them, I'll read it, and I'll just personally basically um just simplify, because the language is heavy, and some people, especially like me, the English is third language, is really hard to comprehend, and you're asking questions. Man, you're doing more research. I was even doing like a bona fide agent. I was even like breaking down the word, like what bona means, right? What bona fide means. Bona, some people will say it's a Greek word, some people will say it's a Roman word, but I really want to understand like what that bona fide agent means, and why some people saying that we're limited to one carrier, why some people said that the multiple carriers it's okay, but it's very confusing. And here we are, you know let's work together and let's get to the bottom of it. So then, what's the root cause? This is very important. It all began somewhere, and that's what it is. The Interstate Commerce Commission, also known as ICC, determined the primary purpose of a Congress is regulating the motor transportation brokers. See that? Is to protect carriers and the traveling and shipping public against dishonest, pay attention, and financially unstable middlemen in the transportation industry. And then DAT Solutions also comment on this, and it says Congress was concerned about the middlemen who collected payments for freight transportation from shippers, but then pocketed the full amount without paying the carrier. See that? That's that's the root cause. They are some people or the companies out there, doing this. Is this is it's all about like eliminating those people and those um, entities. So when I read this, two problems, right? So one is basically FMCSA, and again, this is my understanding. I'm not reading directly. I'm not coding. This is like what I got. And I talked to the brokers, and I talked to my friends as well about this. The two concerns, the two main concerns, and then we get the root cause, the two main concerns, and we'll jump onto this FMCSA guidelines, and we'll start just drilling, and let's dissect and understand what, because this is very important, right? What it's all about. So the primary problem here, the FMCSA guidelines says, say, listen, if you are dispatch service out there, like, we don't want you to go and work or promote your services to a direct shipper saying, hey shipper, I have carriers, let's work. Like, I'm breaking the language, right? In like, this is how I understand, right? My job is to simplify. So this huge, at least for me, is huge, and this is what I get. Now, that's the number one. That's the number one thing. Don't go directly. Hey, dispatch service out there, don't go to direct shipper and saying that, hey, I'm a dispatch service, I have carriers, let's work. That's illegal. You can't do that. If you want to do that, then you must have a broker license. That's against the law. That's number one. And then second thing, this is what it's basically, when you read this, that's what pops up right at you. It's like the financial part of it. Money, right? So FMCSA basically says, hey, listen, dispatch service out there, don't manage the money. Don't manage the money. That's the second important thing. Guys, if we get these two and everything that what I'm about to say, it will be clear. So then money, and it goes into details and saying, listen, you don't touch the money, right? Like, you don't get paid by the shipper. You're not getting any money, and you're not managing the money. You're not exchanging the money in between brokers, carriers, shippers. You're not doing that. As long as you're not doing that, you're fine, right? You're not touching the money. Now, they're saying that you're not getting paid by the shipper, direct shipper. You're not getting paid by the direct shipper. You're not getting paid by the brokers. If you are getting paid by the brokers, that's the problem. The only person, and by the way, if you are getting paid by the factoring company, it's a problem. And for those of you, the students of mine, like Ikmal, you said that we can get paid by the factoring company. We're not getting paid by the factoring company. Technically, we're getting paid by the carrier. Why and how? When we, let's say, dispatching services, book a load from a broker using the load boards, and then you assign it to a carrier, and basically the carrier guides you, right? So then what's happening? You deliver the load, meaning you, like carrier, delivers the load, then you get the rate confirmation and POD. Then what you're doing is that you're uploading this document to factoring company, and then factoring company does the invoicing. Factoring company doesn't write a check with your name on it and saying, here we go, I paid you. Doesn't make any sense, and here's why. Have you done any work to a factoring company? No. So you did a work for a carrier, and it makes sense that carrier pays you, not the factoring company, right? So in this case, we're fine. Factoring company don't pay us, right? So let's dive in and let's talk about this. And good news, I really want to start with the good news, and this is what the FMCSA guidelines says. I think this will help a lot of dispatchers just calm down. I'll just read a paragraph, and then I'll just take it. And if you guys have take it in, hey, this is what I think about this. And if you have questions, please let me know, right? And I will just take your question, and we go from there. And again, this is interactive, guys. Let's learn together, really. So if you have questions, please let me know. So FMCSA says that it's clear based on the feedback. Before I read, I want to say something very important. FMCSA, what I understood is it's what they're saying is that, listen, dispatchers out there, you guys awesome. Like, I'm about to read that to you guys, and you make your own, decisions or the opinions and share your opinions with me. It's basically says, listen, we know that you guys providing the value in the market. We know that you're valuable in the market. So that's what it is. I just want you to keep that in mind, right? Let's sink in and let's read. And this is what it's exactly coming from. I'm not changing anything. This is exactly coming from the FMCSA new guidelines that was posted yesterday. It is clear based on the feedback from the industry that there is a need and desire for dispatch services. See that? So let's continue. Among large and small motor carriers, a beneficial role that a dispatch service may provide is the outsourcing of resources for small motor carriers who cannot afford a full-time employee to perform these functions. The dispatch service can help to ensure the motor carrier has a steady stream of shipments while allowing the motor carrier to focus on its core business of safety or safely transporting the freight. FMCSA, watch this. FMCSA does not believe it is the intent of Congress to eliminate the services that dispatch services provide. Thank you, FMCSA. See that you guys get concerned about like, oh wow, now it's just like end like the Congress is going after me. There will be 10,000 fines. Yes and no. So if you're doing wrong, you're not following the guidelines, then yes, there will be a fine of 10,000, and then there will be a lot of penalties. Be careful, right? So that's what it is. That's basically a good news. Just freight dispatchers, relax. If you're following the guidelines and if you're asking like, what are those, Kamal? And I'll be just going over. So let me finish this. There is one important aspect though. It continues. While no single factor is paramount in assessing the business relationship between a dispatch service and motor carrier, the extent of a motor carrier's control over the individuals performing the dispatch services is highly significant. The dispatch service works on behalf of a motor carrier and makes the decisions based on the motor carrier's guidelines and direction. As noted, FMCSA determines whether a dispatcher is conducting a broker operations on a case-by-case basis, utilizing the factors including those above. So if you are got confused, just ask me, and then I'll just put this and let this. I'll just figure that out, and then just think about all dispatchers are thieves. So think about like FMCSA says one thing, and this person and this person wanted, and as I said, right. So your questions and anything that you put here on the chat, it will be displayed. So just define like why you calling legit dispatch services out there, like human beings behind those companies, serving carriers. Maybe you are a carrier. Maybe you had challenge with the dispatching company. Why are you calling all dispatchers are thieves? So to me, be honest with you, when people are claiming making claims like this, there's some consequences. Just be careful with that. Like literally, I just read what FMCSA said. Like FMCSA knows the value of dispatchers bringing into the market. So those people out there that you guys legitimately doing the business and serving carriers out there, just think about it. And they're like, Ahmed says, wow, now that's motivated me a lot. Well, I think, Ahmed, it's beyond motivation. We need to just what we do is educating ourselves. So I'm just sharing my opinion with the people like, hey, I'm educating myself, and this is what am I getting, and sharing with the world, obviously, live, saying, hey, this is how I learned, this is what I learned, and I'm sharing with you. If you're doing something wrong, stop immediately because there is a fine. right? Because a lot of people watching YouTube videos here and there, and then they'll be doing stuff. They'd get, I don't know, motivated, excited, and they will start their companies willingly, unwillingly, knowingly, unknowingly, and then they're breaking the laws. And then, oh wow, there's people teaching this. There are people saying this. Like, no, 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 no. You must educate yourself. See, this new guidelines is here. We all here, just sharing, and then um, you learn as we go. So let me delete this and we'll take it from there. So now make it very simple. And let me see. So Leo has this. We as dispatchers don't even touch money until carrier pays us. There you go. Awesome. So if there are carriers out there, and if brokers out there, just like comment, let us know. Let's work together. Okay. So we are not supposed to use factoring companies. Well, listen, when you say we, what do you mean? Do you mean the independent freight dispatchers or dispatch services? So when you use factoring, so in order to factoring companies help your carriers, you obviously bring in carriers, right? So then your carriers must submit the paperwork, meaning rate confirmation and PODs. And you, on your carrier's behalf, helping your carrier to submit these documents to factoring companies. And your factoring company must know that who am I dealing with, right? So this is why most of the factoring companies out there, they need an application process saying, hey, we need to know like how you related to this guy, because the main customer or the target audience for factoring companies is carriers. They're serving carriers. That's it, right? So you're not getting paid by the factoring company. I really need to make this clear. So think about this way: are you doing any services? Are you providing any services to factoring company? Like, hey, I did this for you, and I I must get paid, right? So maybe, I don't know, I dispatch loads for you guys. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, you can't put in a context. Like, it's not even working. You're not providing services for factoring companies. You're serving their customer base. That's what's happening, right? And then who pays you? Technically, your carriers pays you, right? There you go. So hope that helps. And again, if you need more clarification, please ask, because I'll be going over the factors, like which one determines that you must have a broker license. And if you're doing it correctly, following the guidelines, you don't need to get the broker license. So I'll be honest with you. Whatever you say, I'll take it. So don't think that, hey, if I say something wrong and then Kamal won't pull it, I will pull it, and whatever you want to say, just say it. Let's go. But then let's focus on this guidelines, right? So let's go. I think broker are too transparent, who don't know how much they charge to the clients or the shipper. I think that's what you're trying to say. I think broker are no transparent. Yeah, that's another. I'm glad you brought up, because think about, at least we as a dispatch, and when we put we and them, basically we're just competing with each other, but we don't. That's the whole point of this video. Like, we don't compete with each other, right? Broker business model is totally different, and dispatch service, totally different business model, right? So, and I use the word, and I come back to this. And let's finish it. So when you said there's no transparency, absolutely. The brokers, they don't have any transparency. Think about, there are real estate brokers out there. The fees are transparent. Why not brokers, freight brokers? They're not transparent. They're not transparent with whatever the charges, carry. I was a carrier, and I know it's not transparent. But at least dispatcher or dispatching services, they're transparent with their carriers. Hey, I charge this. I have 8%. I charge 10%. That's what it is. That's my cut. So if you need my help, I can support you, and this is what I charge. So if you don't need my support, then obviously more than welcome to work with anybody you want, right? So that's the point. So let's get Stefan's. Is that the question? I don't know. So drivers, after a certain point, need the service of dispatchers to keep up and be competitive in the logistics industry. Otherwise, they'll hire an employee to do the same task for less money. Great. And let's talk about this. And not every carrier will afford. I'm not even talking about the mega carriers out there. And by the way, 60% of like Americans, the trucking companies, they're small companies and averaging about 6 to 7 trucks. What are we talking about, right? So not many carriers, they can afford, let's say, employee. And think about, if an owner operator is all he can do is just pick up a load and drop the loads and then pick another and come back, and hours are limited, and they can't use the phone. They need support from somebody, and this is where they're like going into the market and like leveraging the social media, searching for freight dispatching services. That's what's happening, right? So let me take this. Well, he says there are definitely a lot of dispatching companies out there, a lot of competition for sure. Well, I agree with you. I agree. Like the dispatching services, brokering services, like carriers, think about carriers, remove dispatching services out of the equation. Just take it out and just look at it, just like a trucking industry. How many carriers each month? There are a lot of carriers going into the business, but at the same time, there are a lot of people going out of the business. I personally taught, I don't know, a handful of brokers that they don't know how to get shippers. Like, be honest with you, like maybe you have in your mind like brokers, oh wow, they're making a lot of money. Most of them, they don't know how to get shippers on board. That's the main problem for them, right? So, and obviously, when brokers go into the market, I want to make money, and then realize that competition is huge. Now I don't know marketing, I don't know sales, I'm not good at sales and marketing, and this is where they suffer, and that they can't get shippers, they give up. Same with freight dispatchers. How I know? I taught more than 20,000 people, and I know this, including brokers, you know, everybody. Like I have like doctors, be honest with you, nurses. And if one of my students, she's an MD, and she's like, I just gave up. I don't want to, pursue my medical, career. I want to do this. And guys, this is huge. And well, they're going into the market realizing that it's not easy getting carriers. If they get carriers, then it's not easy for them to retain those carriers. And they boom, go out of business. I can do that. So when we talking about the competition, technically competition is a good thing. That's the determining factor when you're going into, let's say, any market and you're doing research. Think about, let's just look at from different perspective. Think about like Amazon. You want to become an Amazon seller. You are doing the product research, and as soon as you start searching for the product that you are about to sell, and you see that hundreds of people selling it already, some people will just give up right then, and it's like, oh, it's already competition is there, I'm not going to do that. But I think it's a good thing to know that it works, and because of that, people selling and people making a lot of money with just selling that product. The competition is good. So, well, I don't know if this is a question. It's not obviously it's a statement, but this is my response. Competition is good, so you must be a different, right? So like you and I go into the market. So if you're good at marketing and sales, I'm not good at marketing and sales, you're getting carriers, and I'm just learning here and there. I don't know marketing and sales, watching YouTube videos, and I got the carrier, but I'm really good at retaining customers. Now you get hundreds of carriers, you're really good at marketing and sales. Now you're not good at, technically speaking, you're not good at serving those people, and you're not retaining, and they just go away, right? It's just like they ending the game, like, hey, I don't want to work with you. So, and you're losing them. But I'm not good at marketing and I'm not good at sales, but I'm hustling. But then I got maybe, I don't know, 5 6 carriers, but then I'm really good at serving them, I'm really good at retaining them. That's the competition, right? So hope that helps. Okay, let's go. Leo said, Kamal, do you think market will go up with the rates soon? quick, answer to this: it's not going soon, but again, it's not the topic for now. It's today. We're talking about the FMCSA, the new guidelines. So let's go. Enjoy the capitalism. No one is doing it by force, like say gas, petrol, and electric. Okay, cool. So let's take this. Kamal, thanks for an amazing video as usual. Thank you. So, brother, have you been in a broker side in this market and worked as one, or just a carrier dispatcher? Just a carrier and dispatcher. But again, I'm not a broker, and I said many, many times, I'm not a broker, and I don't want to become a broker. Maybe in the future, I don't know, right? So, not to closing the doors, but I never been a broker, but I did work with a lot of brokers, and I do hit a lot of friends and families in this market, meaning brokers. So, hope that helps. Let me take this. I think the rates will go up. Okay, whatever if you think that it will go, that's your opinion. So when the Russia war ends against Ukraine, it's collapsing all world economy. So we'll see. That's basically, guys. This isn't just an opinion, obviously, right? So let's come back to the guidelines. Now, I'll just go over the 6 things. If you're doing this, then obviously it requires for dispatch services out there, it requires for you to have a broker license, right? So this is very important. Pay attention. Dispatcher services out there, including my students, watch this, and I'll just read. It's just like one sentence, and it's about their 6 sentences. We'll just take it one by one, and then we'll start talking. Okay, so the following factors would indicate the dispatch service should obtain the broker authority. Okay, so there's 6 of those on this guideline. So, number 1, dispatch service interacts or negotiates a shipment of a freight directly with the shipper or a representative of a shipper. Let's come back and let's talk about this. Remember when I started this live and I said, listen, there's 2 things. If you're not doing those things, you basically fine, right? And then obviously there's small things that you need to adjust and follow the guidelines of FMCSA. But this is what it is. Don't talk to shipper directly. You can't do that. Carriers can do that. You can't do that. Brokers can do that. You can't do that. You as a dispatch service, right? So if you're not doing that, you're fine. So, and it basically says that you can't talk to shippers directly and negotiate loads or any representative that shipper has in place. You can't do that. That's number 1 thing. If you're doing this, you're acting like a broker, and you need a broker license. When I say broker license, basically what are the procedures are you becoming, or what are the requirements or experience required you becoming a broker. That's it. End, period. Right? That's, if you're missing this, you need a broker license. The number 1 is this. So then second, the dispatch service accepts or takes compensation for a load from the broker or factoring company, or is involved in any party of the monetary transaction between any of these entities. Now, what we have here, this is the second factor. On the second factor, it says, if you are a dispatch service and if you get paid, getting compensated by the shipper, you need broker license, period, right? If you are getting paid by the broker, and I don't know how that possible, getting paid by the broker, if broker assigns load to a carrier, brokers cannot assign with no MC. That doesn't make any sense. Like, how am I going to get paid from a broker? That's confusing, right? When I read this, I'm like, man, I'm not getting paid by the broker. I'm not doing anything for the broker. Like, I'm working with the carrier. Like, if you're paying me, broker, quote unquote, you're doing something wrong. Why? Well, I don't have MC number. Like, how are you dispatching to me? Like, you're pulling literally, like, you're looking at your software or CRM, whatever the CRM you're using, you're pulling that carrier's database, and you're looking at the carrier saying, okay, what's your MC? And I'm giving you the MC. Who's MC? My carrier's MC, right? and then you're pulling it saying, oh yeah, we are set up, and here's the deal, take it or leave it, right? If don't, then obviously carrier, you helping your carrier signing up with the broker. It's a broker carrier, agreement. So if you're doing that, getting paid by the shipper, and if you're getting paid by the broker, you need broker license, like that, period. Factoring company is confusing for most people out there. And again, this is what it is. It's like, what factoring and how, and tell me, so you can share your thoughts here, how factoring company is going to pay you. Factoring company is basically the problem that they're solving is the time. Why? In like trucking, so I think this is very important to note. Trucking is highly regulated, and we see it's highly regulated, capital intensive, and brutally competitive business. These are the two problems, right? Well, the problems meaning if you're going into this, it becomes a problem if you don't know the rules or the guidelines. You must know, you must comply with the law, right? So that becomes confusing, and it becomes, problem. Now, the factoring company comes into where? The capital intensive business, right? They know that trucking is capital intensive business, and they're going into this saying, hey broker, hey carrier, I can factor, I can invoice, right? So you'll be waiting from a broker, let's say 15, 20 days, or let's say 15 days. I can wait for you. And again, I'm breaking the language so that we can all understand. Guys, this is what I do. I'm just simplifying so we can get it, right? So factoring company says, hey carrier, I'll wait. I'll do the waiting for you, but you get the money right away. What that means is that carrier need funds like yesterday. They need money so they can operate, right? It's huge. Why? It's capital intensive business. And factoring companies solves that problem. And when let's say dispatch service, I book a load from a broker. So then this broker says that they will pay, let's say, within 10 days or 15 days. And carrier, basically, when we get the rate confirmation, we can invoice the broker. And again, when we say like carrier invoicing, but then me as a back office helper, I'm helping my carrier to do the invoicing, right? Because this is how I get paid. So then what's happening is just we wait. We wait from the broker so the broker can pay who? Yes, they will pay the carrier, not me. Then carrier obviously will compensate whatever the job I did. See that? But then carrier says, hey, listen, I work with the factoring company. Like, we need money so to operate. And again, coming back to this capital intensive business, and like, hey, we can use factoring company. And then factoring company says, okay, here's the rate confirmations, and here's the POD, and then you just wait from the broker, and then we'll just wait, but then give me the money, right? And then factors it, takes some percentage off of it because that's the service fee they have, and then pays the carrier. And when we say pays the carrier, and that's the invoicing part of it, factoring company handles for dispatchers and carriers, is the service providing for their carriers. It's just you're getting the leverage. You're not getting paid by the factoring company. Okay? So there's two we gone over. And I'll start taking the questions, guys. Just let them come in. Don't think that I'm not going to take it. I'll take it. So that's number two. Then let's go to number three. That's the factor that determines that you must have a broker if you're doing this. So we covered first, second, now on the third. So third factor, the dispatch service arranges for a shipment of a freight for a motor carrier with which there is no written legal contract with the motor carrier. That means I got this. And let me simplify it. I was doing a live, and this is a perfect example. One of the viewers said that, hey, like, I read that and I really must, be careful because I was getting the loads from the shipper and dispatching to a carrier with no contract. But on this factor number three, it says that if you're arranging a shipment of a freight of a motor carrier, which there's no written legal contract. What we're talking about here? We're talking about dispatcher carrier agreement. First, a lot of people, when I did, you know, YouTube like live videos, a lot of people were commenting and saying that, hey, you don't need to get contracted with the broker. I mean, with the carrier. No, like, so I can't answer all of the questions like out there, but guys, it's you must have a dispatcher carrier agreement. It's a legal agreement between two parties, dispatching services and the carriers. So we'll come back to it, and I hope this makes sense. And if doesn't, please let me know. So moving on to factor number 4, and then there's 2 left. So then factor number 4, the dispatch service accepts a shipment without a truck, meaning carrier, then attempts to find a truck carrier to move the shipment. So this to me is a broker, right? Well, to me, it perfectly makes sense that, hey, if I do this, I need a broker license. How come? Like shippers, they go and talking to carrier. I mean, shippers or brokers going talking to shippers and saying, hey, they get loads and then they talking to carriers. Without a truck, they can do that. Well, that's the authority they have. You as a dispatch service, you don't have that authority. If you're doing that, it's against the law. Be careful. That's the whole point of this video. Just reminding you that, hey, listen, there's a new regulation, I mean, new guidelines posted yesterday. It's effective immediately. Be careful. You can't do that. If you want to do that, then please go and become a broker. Hope that helps. I think number 5 is just, it's right on point. So, I mean, number 4, excuse me. So number 5, the dispatch service is named party on the shipping contract. So this is basically what it means. When you get the rate confirmation in your dispatching service named there. And again, it brings back to this working directly with shippers, right? Or working directly with the broker. No, your name, dispatch service name, shouldn't be there. Shouldn't be there means the rate confirmation, right? So the dispatch service is named party on the shipping contract. No. And if you're carrier contracting with the shipper, carrier contracting with the broker, no names. Only your name listed on a contract when you're contracting with the carriers. Period. Make it simple. That's it. Right? Clear? Awesome. So let's go to number 6. This is huge, and I see this a lot. And maybe dispatchers out there, carriers and brokers watching this, you guys saw this, and it's becoming, I don't know, it's just pandemic, right? It's huge, and we need to take some action. So this number 6 is huge. The dispatch service is soliciting the open market for carriers for the purpose of transporting a freight shipment. I was first confused about this when I start calling people and like want to get clear, so to make sure that I will be talking to people and I want to make sure that I'm delivering the right information. And this, what it means is, have you seen on Facebook, on social media, where people just like screaming loudly, their dispatch services, by the way, saying, hey, we have loads, 10, 20, 40 loads. Hey, carriers out there, work with us. We have loads for you. That should trigger red signal saying that is illegal to do that. You can't do that. You must become a broker, a licensed broker, to say that. Who has the load, shipper or the broker? The broker representing the shipper. And by the way, for representation standpoint, one of my students said that, hey, you said that brokers represent carriers and shippers, and you did the video, but I really want to clarify one thing. When I said represent, that means brokers can work with carriers and shippers, but the main contact for the broker, they represent themselves. That's what it is, guys. That brokers, they represent themselves. That's what it is. Like, we are going into like really advanced thing. But then technically they're representing a shipper, saying that, hey, listen, I can bring carriers, I can, transport your loads, no problem. I can handle it. I can help you with logistics, right? So if somebody says that broker represents a carrier, how come? I was a carrier, broker doesn't represent me. There's no way. Like, just Just like they're not representing a carrier. If they're representing a carrier, how so? Just comment. Let me pull your comment. Let's talk. Right? So they're representing themselves, but then obviously technically they're representing a shipper because they're going in and saying, "Hey, listen, I can help you with, with the shipment, with the logistics, because I have army of carriers." Hope that makes sense. And some people, be honest with you, you will read the comments and you will see that some people they don't getting it, and I just like sorry for those people. Like if you know this is huge, and I really want you to take seriously, guys. That's what I'm trying to say. So if you don't understand, and there are a lot of people out there just will go, dispatching services is illegal. Read the guidelines here, and it just like it rewards the dispatching services out there. It's just like read. I read it. It's available, but then it says like, hey, like you must follow the guidelines. So if you do this, then you must have a broker license. But then if let's say if there's no let's say if MCSA comes up and says, listen, you dispatcher services out there, you must get a broker license. What we're talking about? We can go get in broker license. Like that's no problem. Yes, that will be extra, expense to us, but then we'll get even more powerful. Like brokers, I think they don't need that. And they're not proposing this, be honest with you. That's the whole point. Remember when we started this and I talked about the root cause of this? And there is a middleman acting like a broker, right? And then pocketing it and it's leaving. And then obviously that creates a mess for everybody. Brokers, they don't need competition. Hey, dispatchers, well, do your own thing. Like, I think you guys are awesome. You guys helping our carriers to move. Be there. Like, don't come up here. That's what's happening, guys. Like, let's go. So that is the sixth factor. Okay. So then if you really wanted to go, there's 9 factors that FMCSA talks about is that dispatch services that would not require broker authority. Before I go there, and there's 9 points, and I think this is if you really guys want to know, I'll just go over them, and then again it will be just like taking it and then basically consuming it and let it sink in, right? Because this is important. And let me see if you guys have questions, and I do see you guys have a lot of questions. Awesome. So let's go. And Chad says, I thought dispatchers were always supposed to have broker authority if they were working for more than one carrier. And again, this is awesome. And we need to talk about what we're talking about is a bona fide agent, right? So bona fide agent, it's basically working to one carrier. So let's talk about this. I think this is huge when it comes to these 9 factors that determines, hey, you don't need a broker authority. And let's talk. Let FMCSA talk to you guys, not me, because I'm reading it. This is what I understand, and then you just go and do your own research. Okay, so that's a good question. So let's go to Hakeem says, what are the market projections going to the new year? So we're not talking about the market conditions. We're talking about the FMCSA, new guidelines. Please, if you have that question related, that will be awesome. So Kamal, thank you. What is it? Well, Kamal, do you think it's must for a dispatcher to have an agreement with the carrier? That's must. Yes, and again, yes. You must have a dispatcher carrier agreement, legal written contract between a dispatcher. And I highly recommend, and again, it's a quick disclosure, I do provide the template for our students. Although I'm providing them, I said always consult with the professionals, meaning small business attorneys or attorneys. Just let them draft for you one, or just go over yours and then make the the corrections. So it's very important, and your contract is basically legally binding whatever that you think you're doing. It's you must take that seriously. It's huge. Okay, so as many dispatchers show no contract offers as a plus, do you recommend that? I don't recommend that. Personally, I don't recommend that. So I think this should be clear, and this is live, and it's against the law. How come? Like, think about like personal opinion, I don't recommend, right? And it's in against the law. So I'm glad you asked. And this is a good thing because people watching this, and it's like about 80 people, 90 people watching this, and like you are asking great questions, and people, learning. We're learning from each other. This is like, think about a group coaching. So let's go. Some of the dispatcher are having the broker pay them, and then they send to the carrier, and vice versa with the factoring companies. This is wrong. Like, I've been doing this so long, and I've been teaching people. I never taught this, and I never had this happen to me. But and again, it's something happening here. Like, there are millions of things can go into this. We don't know exactly who this broker is, how they operate their business. To me, it sounds like this broker maybe don't know what they're doing. And again, it's my personal opinion. Look, no offense, but again, we must take seriously when it comes to rules, regulations, laws. This is important. And we just read it that, hey, you can't get paid by the broker. That's it. Like, period. You can't do that. So let's go. Foreigners need established a company to in US to provide independent dispatch service. Marco, let's talk about this. I don't know as far as the regulation goes. I don't know how people are going to change this. I already talked to factoring companies. They obviously they will be making some changes. Be honest with you, load boards, they will be also doing some changes. I don't know. We'll see in the future. Let's see what happens. So I don't have the clear answer for this, but let's talk about the guidelines for now. So make no sense. Okay. Factoring won't factor the loads for a carrier if it's under your name, and broker won't pay you money as you're not doing any service unless it's illegal or shady work. Let's take it again. Make no sense. Factoring company won't factor the loads for a carrier if it's under your name. Yes, that's correct. They won't do that, right? So, and broker won't pay you money as you are not doing any service. There you go. It's basically clearly said it. That's exactly right? So it's against the law. So awesome. That's clear. So let's go this. When we will book loads at least $4 per mile, you can basically now book loads, for $4 per mile. You can do even $5 per mile. But the question is how? And then the second question is basically, will it be consistent? Right? We had a coaching call yesterday, and one of our students asked this, and it was kind of related to this. And I said, that was a question. Will one of the box truck carriers that I talked to, he needs $10,000 per week. And he said, the student says, I said to him that it's not possible. We can't do. I said, it is possible. Box truck 10,000, for a week. Some people maybe just like getting offensive here. Like, what are you talking about? Not semi getting, guys. It's possible to do it, right? But then will it be consistent? No. But it is possible. Maybe every 3 months, maybe every 6 months, maybe every year, but it's possible. The main point was, it's like, hey, don't scare the carrier. So if they're like trying to understand like what you're doing here, they're proposing some numbers, just help them. Like, help them that, hey, it is possible. $4 per mile. I'm like, seriously, I'm dead serious. It's possible. But just, you need to, like, if you're talking about just one pick, one drop, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. And again, we're off topic, but I thought this, clears some questions. But then let's continue talking about the guidelines. So let me take this. The factoring company gets a small percentage from the carrier and dispatch service. They don't get anything from dispatch service, guys. Like, whatever the factoring company does for a dispatch is free. They're not charging anything. Don't be confused. They're charging for carriers. Like, the biggest guys, and again, the main players, like, all started main players with a shipper. All it began with the shipper and a carrier in mind. So then when shippers, they're growing, obviously, and then carriers cannot grow, buying more trucks, and obviously shippers, they have thousands of loads. Now they need army of carriers, and this is where the broker comes in. Without owning a truck, and then they get the network of carriers, Now it becomes easy for shippers out there that they need multiple carriers. That's the need broker solving, right? So don't be confused. Factoring companies, they don't pay anything to dispatchers or dispatch service. This like dispatchers, they don't do any service for the factoring company, right? So if you, let's say, brought a carrier for them, maybe they will they reward you by saying just thank you that you brought a carrier to us. That's what it is, right? But then you're not doing any service to factoring companies, and factoring companies, they don't pay you. They pay the carrier. So I'll come back to questions, and let me take this one. I think, what do you think? It's a must for a dispatcher to have an agreement with a carrier. I think we covered this already. Yes, we must have that. Kamal, do you think? Why are you like asking questions like repeatedly? So I think we took that. Never mind, you answered it. Yeah, there you go. I think you got it. So, and again, Ibrahim Musa says unrelated inquiry, guys. Okay, no worries. So Blue Chip Dispatch says, thank you, great information. Absolutely, you're welcome. Let's take this. Trey says brokers have a liability bond that carriers can go after. Dispatch services has no liability. Exactly, 100% agree. Right, and I think this is the time to read these 9 factors. And again, for those of you who want to learn, just stay tuned because this is huge. But because at the end, we'll just determine, is dispatching service legal or illegal. So then this is, and again, I was directly taking from the FMCSA, new guidelines, right? So this is what it says: the dispatch service that would not require a broker authority. So generally, the factors relevant to whether the dispatch service is not required to obtain a broker authority are stated below. And then there's 9 different factors, right? This is important. So factor number 1, the dispatch service has a written, there you go, the written legal contractual relationship with a motor carrier that clearly reflects the motor carrier is appointing the dispatch service as a licensed agent for a motor carrier. This is often a long-term contractual relationship. So basically, in this factor number 1, what you can get is, hey, see, you must have a written legal agreement between a carrier and the dispatching service. So moving on to next, meaning second, the written legal contract specifies that insurance and liability responsibilities of the shipment for a motor carrier. The dispatch service may not seek or solicit shippers for freight. So what it means is that exactly this, right? So broker has liabilities, but then dispatchers, they don't. But this is what FMCSA says, that, hey, listen, when you are dispatching, your services to carriers, or like, let's say you contracted with the carrier, let them know that who's responsible for if anything happens. So you must have a literally legal agreement. Your carrier says, well, if something happens, you're liable. Right? So what will happen? So let's say you don't have this and you haven't negotiated this and you didn't talk about this, and that everything, comes back when I said, listen, you must hire a professional so that they can draft you a contract, because it's very important. Let the professionals go over your contract. This is huge, right? Don't go in trouble. So this is the factor number 2 by the FMCSA. It says, hey, listen, when you're doing this agreement, specify, right? Specify that who's liable if anything happens, the insurance and the liability. Imagine a situation where a carrier just, there's an accident and there's 150,000 load, and now a carrier says, dispatcher, you booked this load, now you're responsible. Like, what would you do in that case? So the FMCSA basically wants to eliminate this and just like, hey, get straight to the point. Who's responsible if anything happens in the future, right? So that is huge. So you must specify, hey, carrier, add me as additionally insured, or I will be under your umbrella, or you're going to buy an insurance. So that's basically it, right? So we're not going into training part of it, but then I'm just basically clearing what I got, from the FMCSA guidelines. So that's the number two. So the dispatch service must also meet all the state licensing requirements. On the comments that made to FMCSA new guidelines, a lot of companies out there, dispatching companies and individuals, to just posting these comments. And I do see some people just, they don't have even general knowledge. And they said, well, by the way, the FMCSA has this 13 questions. And basically, off of these 13 questions and multiple entries from other people, other companies, entities, and this is what it is. And now they, you know, read that, and then now they're sharing their, basically their thoughts. Like, this is what we think, right? Based on the input, and here's an output that we have, right? Now is the new guidelines. Is some people said, I read somebody said, when the question says like, what are the, like, the licensing or something like that, do you think that they need to get a license? And somebody said no. Maybe I'm thinking some states, at least my state, require a business license, but then some state, maybe they don't. I don't know. I have no idea. Just do your own research on that, right? But my state requires, and I must have a business license. I'm not talking about the broker license, though. It's a business license. For those of you, like, if you guys know this, you're fine. But then for those of you who don't know, you must have a license. There you go. FMCSA guidelines. So that's the number two. Number three, and then we have about 6 more. So dispatch service goes through a broker to arrange for the transportation of a shipment for a motor carrier. The dispatch service may not seek a solicit, shippers, for the freight. Think about what this factor says, that, hey, listen, if you want to book loads from a broker, right? Use broker. And if you're using broker, then you don't need a broker license. And again, everything boils down to just two things that I shared in the beginning. Don't go directly to shipper, and don't, what was the second thing? The monetary exchange, right? So as long as you don't do that, you mainly fine, but then these are the guidelines. So then number 4, and again, these are like, if you're doing this, you don't need a broker license. So number 4, the dispatch service does not provide the billing, nor accept compensation from the broker, third-party logistics, or factoring company. And again, we talked about this. But instead receives the compensation from the motor carrier based on the predetermined written legal agreement, right? Contractual agreement. See that? And again, so you must have a contract, and the only party you're getting paid by the carrier, period. That's it. Make it simple. And they're making it simple, right? So you're not getting paid by the broker, by the factoring company directly, and you're not getting paid by the shipper. So if you do, then you must have a broker license. Okay? So number 5, the dispatch service is not an intermediary or involved in the financial transaction between a broker and motor carrier. See that? And again, remember, we talked about this. You're not going in between the carrier, and you're not going in between the broker in the middle, and you're taking the money from the broker and giving it to the carrier. No, the only party you're getting paid is the carrier. So number 5 is clear. This is huge. Number 6, guys, and then we have 3 more. So number 6, the dispatch service is an IRS 1099 recipient from the motor carrier or W-2 employee of the motor carrier as specified in the legal written contract agreement. How many people out there, you guys can read comments on the previous videos that I did? A lot of people like, hey, you don't need a contract. You don't need anything. Like, just go and dispatch. You don't need to have LLC. Do you guys remember those, conversations? Like, I was like, no, you must have a company. And see that, like, if you are dispatching a carrier, and if you are an independent dispatcher, you basically becoming a contractor, and then your carrier must send you a 1099, which is the contractor, right? So, and one of my students said when I shared this, and she says, Kamal, do I need to send 1099 to a carrier? I said, do you pay anything to your carrier? No, carrier pays me. then your carrier should send you at the end of the year 1099 for your tax purposes. Basically, what it is that carrier says that, hey, IRS, I paid X amount of dollars to this dispatcher, whatever the tax, you guys are in between. So I'm letting you know, IRS, that I paid X amount of dollars to dispatcher. That's what it is. And that's why FMCSA says, hey, you guys need to do that. But if you are an employee, not an independent freight dispatcher working for a carrier, they have a solution for you. You must be a W-2. That's what it is. That's it. And now you basically legally working for a carrier as an employee, right? So hope that makes sense. Let's go number 7, and then there's 2 left. Okay, and so we'll conclude, and then I'll take a couple of questions, and we'll take it from there. So then number 7, the dispatch service discloses that they are a dispatch service operating under authority of a specific motor carrier, and then shipment is arranged for that motor carrier only. This is huge. And a lot of people, when I started dispatching and I saw that maybe they're unwillingly, they don't know the rules and they were doing this. What that means is that if you are a dispatch service out there, if you connected with me, so if I'm a carrier, it just example purposes, if you booked a load under my MC, that load is mine. And only mine and nobody else. If you're using my MC and you're booking multiple loads and you're dispatching to other carriers, that's it. That's against the law. Right? So hope that makes sense. I'm just making it simple, guys. Okay. So then number 8, and there's 1 left. So then number 8, the factor number 8, a dispatch service does not provide their services for motor carriers unless that motor carrier specifically appointed a dispatcher service as their agent in accordance with the aforementioned requirement. So basically, and again, everything boils down to coming back to this legally binding, right? So that's what it is. And 9, this is also huge. The factor number 9, a dispatch service does not provide their services for a motor carrier. Let me see. Excuse me. The number 8, the dispatch service does not subsequently assign or arrange or a load to be carried, moved by another motor carrier. I basically stated on 7 is 7 and 8. Not. 8 is almost exactly the same. So it's continuous. So the 8, I basically gave you the information about this. So don't book a load for one MC, right? And then you just take multiple loads and then you dispatching to other carriers. That's illegal. So that's what 7 and 8. So then number 9, a dispatch service does not provide their services for a motor carrier unless that motor carrier, specifically appointed the dispatch service is their agent in accordance with the aforementioned. Guys, excuse my language because English is my 3rd language. I'm trying to read it. So that's the requirement. So, and again, what I said is basically everything boils down to like, hey, your dispatch, you must have with the carrier a legal binding dispatching carrier agreement, and that carrier specifically appoints you saying, hey, I'm giving you the limited power of attorney to use my company, and under my guidance, whatever I say, you do it. Hope that makes sense, guys. That's basically it. And again, this where we talked about, and also if you guys want to know the differences, like between freight broker and the bona fide agent, and one thing I really want to mention, where there was a comment about, let me take your questions, and then we'll come back to this. So let me see what you guys have as far as broker liability. We've gone over this. Let's talk about this. What's the best way to get dedicated runs in Northeast region? Okay, so we're not talking about that. So this is specifically, as I said, reminding you guys, this is for the FMCSA new guidelines. So if you're taking this very seriously, please, if you have questions, please let me know. Let's go. So Abdul Hakim says, can you tell a broker that you work for 2 different carriers and he can understand and work with you like that without thinking of a double brokering? I don't know exactly, to answer your question. I, I don't even know how to approach this question. Be honest with you. Can you tell a broker that you work with? Well, you can do that. Like I interpret it like based on my, like, this is my opinion, and I said this is what I understood, and I'm sharing with you guys, is that you can't, y- you know, tell the broker that you're working with the two different, carriers, and you just take a load and then assign each load should be assigned to a single MC. That's what it is. So that's my take, right? So if you booked a load under my MC, I must get that load. Any loads that you're booking under my MC, it's mine, nobody else's, right? If you're using, let's say, a different company, by the way, this is something important to talk about. Are we going to represent a one carrier or multiple carriers? We'll talk about this, but think about it. You can't use my MC and dispatch other people's trucks. Like it's illegal to do that because my company is attached to this load and I must haul, right? Nobody else. Hope that makes sense. Let's say, let's go and take this. Can I become a broker for only one owner operator that will be myself? Great question. And see, the question that I have is, like, think about if somebody proposes and says, "Hey, listen, like, like the rule says you must work with the one carrier," and I'm like, "Okay, so if I'm a carrier, can I work with multiple carriers? I mean, with multiple dispatchers?" Like, sometimes, like, I'm not getting it. Like, how that possible? So think about, the carriers can be in a multiple times, in a multiple state, in a multiple different like different locations. I'm just working with the one carrier and I'm not getting loads for this carrier. I can't even like wrap my head around this. Like, how that, if I'm an independent freight dispatcher and I'm a 1099, I'm a contractor, what's stopping me to work like I'm any other services out there? Like, what's stopping me to serve carriers? So if I'm doing the back, for following the guidelines, I'm not double brokering, I'm not working with directly with shippers, I'm not getting paid by the broker, I'm not getting paid by the shipper. And the only thing I do is I'm helping my carriers to succeed. So if they succeed, I succeed. What's stopping me from having multiple carriers and serving them? Well, I think this idea of using multiple, like one MC to multiple carriers, that becomes the problematic, right? That's where I need more information. That's where I need more clarification. Like, why dispatch service? Like, I'm starting a company, let's say, and I'm just focused on a single carrier. Like, and with the hours of service and how much I'm making from one carrier. Like, it's for me, I think it's a better option to go and work 9 to 5. Like, if I'm in a business, can I say to my CPA, let's say, like, you're just only working with me, and then you allow to work just, or the law says that, hey, bookkeeper, you just only work with this carrier. You're not allowed to work multiple carriers. I don't get it. So this CPA or the bookkeeping company is, they are contractors. Like, they're 1099. So my bookkeeper in my CPA company, accounting company, they will get. I will get, or they will get 1099. Let's say they're contracted. Basically, this is what I'm trying to say, right? So I'm paying them, so they will get 1099 from me as well, right? So what I'm trying to say is that, can they work just only with one customer? So why this, like, freight dispatching service becomes really, I don't know, as one said, that it's vague, it's unclear, it's invented term. So hope you guys getting value out of this. You're welcome, absolutely. Let's say, so let's go and talk about this. Ashraf says, what FMCSA new rules affect private dispatcher? Private dispatcher, what do you mean when you say private dispatcher? Do you mean that dispatcher working for carriers? So do you like private companies? Like, to me it's not clear, please let me know, and then I'll do my best to help you. So, hi Kamal, hi. Carrier has to have certificate of insurance to get NMC authorities. Is that the question or the statement? Carrier has to have, well, carrier must have an insurance policy to activate AMC number. Yes, if that's the question. Yes. Um, so let's see. Okay, so I meant freight dispatcher. Okay, so coming back to your question, what FMCSA new rules, and we've been talking about hour and 15 minutes about this. So when we post this, please rewatch the video. I just basically stated everything, and I think it should be clear now. So, guys, and again, if you have questions, let me know. So, and just quickly reminding you that we're talking about this new FMCSA new, guidelines. And as soon as I finish this, I'll just tell you: is it the illegal to do dispatching, or is it legal to do dispatching? Do you need a broker license or not? So then let me see. Just started watching. Okay. So let's see. Let's block this. Let it go. Let me take this. So, must I have a company to independent dispatch a carrier? Okay, so basically what you mean is that, hey, do I have to have a company, to dispatch? So that a lot of people, obviously they also get confused about this. And again, what I mean when I say a lot of people, the people who are emailed me, contacted me, it's somehow asked me questions. For example, using social media, and that's what I meant when I said, people get confused, and it makes sense logically if they confused and asking questions, right? So it's, well, the rule, I mean, the new guidelines says that, hey, listen, you must have, if you are a subcontract, if you're working with the carrier, then obviously you must have, proper, licensing, business license, whatnot. That means that you must have an EIN number, and obviously your LLC. That's what it is. And otherwise, how you're going to, contract it with the carrier? So you're simply becoming a employee, W-2 employee for your carrier. Let's see. I hope that makes sense. Let's see. Cool. Thank you. Absolutely. So Num says, thanks, Kamal, for clearing a lot of doubts. Well, if I did, I don't know, at least help in some way, guys, like, objective is complete. But I really want people to take this very seriously. Some of my students, I'm not going to say that a lot of my students, but some of my students get confused, and then, like, I'm not getting it, Kamal, what it is what's happening. You were teaching this, and now we're teaching this. Is like, just listen, if you following, and this is, I think, coming back to this, is it legal to do that? But you just read we just read it, right? But then you just go and read the new guidelines, and it basically says that, hey, there's 9 things that if you're doing correctly, you don't need a broker license, you absolutely fine. And then we know that you're bringing value to the market. That's my understanding, that's my opinion, right? And then again, you do your own research, go there, and the reason why I make this, and guys, just don't listen to a random person on the internet and just go do your own thing. Do your research. This is what I understood, and then I'm sharing with the people. And I think, well, it's just basically a thank you for people that, following this channel, supporting this channel. And it's like, I feel obligated that I must be there and share, because there are a lot of people, looking after me. I'm a mentor for many people, thousands of people. I'm a coach for thousands of people out there, and I must be here, with my face, live, talking to people, helping with doubts, right? So if you're doing those 6 things, if you remember, we talked about those 6 factors, then obviously you need a broker license. And then remember, we talked about the 9 factors. If you're doing it correctly, the way that FMCSA says, then obviously you don't need a broker license. You're fine, right? So Let's see. Thank you for the information. Absolutely. Will you be posting this? I was late to it. Yes, absolutely. Said I will post this so that you can guys learn. So at the end, this is what I take, guys. Dispatchers, independent freight dispatchers. Basically, people are supporting carriers. The number one, customer, the ideal customer, the target audience is a carrier, is a motor carrier. We freight dispatchers, like people teaching independent freight dispatching, or people out there, coaches teaching people how to become dispatchers. People, I'm assuming that they are teaching, and this is my opinion, obviously, the teaching this way. The FMCSA says that, hey, these are the guidelines, and based on those guidelines, it's just this is what it is. And we don't go and pitch the idea of like, hey, we have carriers, um like can you give me loads for directly going shipper. Don't go to shipper, and as long as you're not going to a shipper, talking to them, and you're not working directly with brokers, meaning you're not contracting with them. The only thing you do, and you're not exchanging any money, you're not touching the money. It's just like, let them do it, and you helping, obviously. With the billing side of it, we help carriers with the billing. We're not exchanging in any monetary exchange. We're not doing that, right? We provide services. And what's huge is and dispatchers, they not only do finding loads, booking loads, dispatching loads. Dispatch service, as somebody said in the comments, it said, hey, it's a vague, it's invented term. But invented term, but well, I'm assuming like everybody knows what dispatching means and what dispatching services mean. There are a lot of carriers out there looking, hundreds of thousands of carriers out there, looking for help, right? So we basically work with dispatchers, I mean, with carriers, and this is how we get paid. And that's my take, guys. And this is what I think based on the guidelines I did my best to share with you. So you make your own conclusions, do your own research. It was awesome be with you guys, and awesome questions. Thank you so much. I'll talk to you next week. Bye.